We just came back from a week in Newfoundland. And Newfoundland, if you haven't been there, is a beautiful place. An island surrounded by water, but also covered by water and trees and more trees and a lot of rock and a lot of moose. People in Newfoundland are some of the friendliest people that you'll meet probably in the world. People who have been shaped by their isolation, by living on an island that is difficult to get to. The weather is, it's generally not good. In the winter, it's a lot of snow and wind, and in the summer, it's a lot of rain and wind. And then there is the fog. This is Cape Spear. Cape Spear is the most eastern part of Canada. And in World War II, there were thousands of American and Canadian soldiers who were posted there so that they could watch for U-boats coming in from the ocean. And the main role, of course, of the lighthouse is not U-boats, but is for ships. And there's probably nothing quite like a Newfoundland fog. When we were at Cape Spear a couple of weeks ago, there was no fog, but there was so much wind that when you were climbing the steps, it was throwing you back down again. Sometimes I think that the big questions of life are kind of like walking into Newfoundland fog. You get lost in the wind and the rain and the gray. The big questions of life, right? Is there a God? And if there is a God, what is he like? Does the creator of the universe really care about you and me? What happens when we die? What's the point of it anyway? All those big questions that the philosophies and religions of our world try to answer. And to all of those questions, Jesus offers not a philosophy, nor a technique, nor a list of rules. He doesn't offer a set of doctrinal beliefs that you have to say yes to. He doesn't even offer really a roadmap. Instead, just as Cape Spear's lighthouse pierces through the fog, Jesus' I am statements pierces through spiritual confusion. And like all the other answers of man-made religion and philosophy, he doesn't offer directions. He offers himself. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. In today's text, we find the disciples in the upper room with Jesus. Jesus has washed their feet, and he has predicted that he would be betrayed. And in fact, Judas has already left to betray him. It has become quite a somber gathering. The disciples are confused, and they are hurt. And Jesus says these words in verse 33. My children, I will be with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and just as I told the Jews, so I tell you now where I'm going, you cannot come. Now remember that the whole point of being a disciple of a rabbi is that you follow him wherever he goes. And these men have followed Jesus for 3 years. They've left their homes, they've left their families to follow him around Israel. They have hopes and dreams about what Jesus is going to do in the world and what they're going to be able to do with him. After all, he's healed all sorts of people, right? Cripples, blind, people who have demons possession, those who have leprosy. They've seen him feed thousands of people with just a few loaves of bread and fish, and not just once, but twice. They've seen him calm a raging storm on the water. They've even seen him raise people from the dead. And he has taught them so many things: how to pray, how to treat their enemies, what true obedience to God means. And he has stood up to the Pharisees and to the Sanhedrin, and they hope that someday he will overthrow the Romans. And now, He's telling them that he's leaving. And where he is going, they can't come? What is going on? And if you listen carefully to the words of our text this morning, you can hear the panic in their voices and in their questions. This morning we're going to look at the 3 questions that the disciples ask. And they provide Jesus with an opportunity to not only reassure them, but also to clarify his identity and his mission. And you will not be surprised, I suspect, to know that Peter is the one who speaks first, because he always speaks first. And Peter, if he was a Newfoundlander, would say something like, "Where you to, Jesus?" We would translate that as, "Where are you going?" Now, this is a question, "Where are you going?" that all of us are familiar with. And for those of you who have toddlers or young children, you will know this question intimately, because it might be one of our earliest questions. Where are you going? It might even be earlier than why. When the father or mother gets ready to go anywhere, whether it's in the house or to the car, even to the bathroom, the child naturally assumes that they can go too, right? And if the answer is no, you can't come with me, then the next response is also predictable. But I want to come too. And that is Jesus' response. Peter's response to Jesus. He does not want to be left behind. The front doors of probably all of our houses have experienced the temper tantrum that happens, or maybe it's more like a panic tantrum that happens when the child cannot go with whoever it is they want to. But I want to come too. And I think Peter is at the edge of a bit of a panic tantrum here, where he says, "Lord, why can't I follow you now? I will lay down my life for you." Peter's question and his claim expresses the panic we all feel, I think, when we feel abandoned, whether it's a parent or a friend, whether it's a temporary absence or the absence brought to us by the death of a loved one. Absences make us question our safety. They make us question who we are and what our place is in the world. And it makes us ask, will they ever come back? Or will I be left here all alone? One of the big questions of life is that question, does God exist? And if he does exist, did he just create the world and then leave us behind? The philosophy of naturalism responds with a no. There's nobody out there. There is no God. We are here alone, and it's all up to us. Eastern religions claim either that there are many gods or that there is only the universe, but regardless of which answer they choose, they will also say none of those are personal. Just get used to it. Listen to Jesus' answer. Do not let your heart be troubled. You believe in God. Believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, so that you may also be where I am. You know the way to the place where I'm going. Jesus is saying that his departure from the disciples is not abandonment. He is not leaving them alone. Rather, it's preparation. It's the way to knowing God. The promise, I go to prepare a place, is not primarily a real estate promise that there are mansions with streets of gold somewhere. It's a relational promise. Jesus is going ahead to secure our lasting relationship with the Father, to make the saving reality of God's presence available to us here and now. Where is he going? He's going to die. The disciples, he says, cannot follow him to death now, but they will follow him there later. You are not alone, Jesus says. You are not being abandoned. In fact, my absence is on your behalf. I'm going to prepare a place for you in my Father's house. I want us to hear that quite clearly this morning. Jesus has a place for you. You belong with him. Whatever experiences and whatever people have left you feeling abandoned or forgotten, Jesus has not forgotten or abandoned you. He wants you to be part of his family, to live with him and God, his Father, but also yours. Does that seem too good to be true? Certainly seems like that to many of the religions and philosophies of our world. There's no God, they say. And if there is one, he certainly is inviting you into his own house. He isn't a personal God. Islam describes Allah as unknowingly transcendent. He cannot be known. Hinduism's Brahman is an impersonal ultimate reality. But Jesus says, God is my Father and yours. Other philosophies say that God is just a life force, or perhaps he's such a holy God that you can't know him. That's why we need holy places like temples and cathedrals and mosques and priests and monks and shamans and angels. He's beyond you. He doesn't associate with humans because you belong outside with all the other riffraff. You're not good enough. You haven't followed the rules well enough. You aren't smart enough. In the Gospel of John, Jesus often says something which is misunderstood by the people listening to him. And it is the follow-up questions that help him to expand on his meaning. And so Thomas asks the next question, Lord, we don't know where you're going, so how can we know the way? So the disciples clearly are completely confused. When Bing Crosby did his version of the children's story, Jack Be Nimble, there's a little snippet that goes like this. Oh, we don't know where we're going, but we're going just the same, and we follow the little old raggedy man who doesn't know his name. We don't know the words of the song we're singing, la, 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 la. And I kind of have that in my head right now when Thomas says, what are you talking about? We don't know. How can we know the way, Thomas says, if we don't know the destination? You say, we know the way, says Thomas to Jesus, but I don't even know where I'm going. Never mind how I'm going to get there. How can we know? How can we really know anything? How can we know what is true? How can we know God if indeed we can know him? For much of the last few centuries, this question has been answered by the scientific method. We can prove what is true through our senses and through logic and through reason and through experimentation. But in the last few decades, we are experiencing an erosion of that belief. We seem to no longer trust experts, whether they're in science or medicine or really anything. And the knowledge of our institutions is increasingly questioned. Now, you and I are supposed to be, apparently, the expert on everything. I won't speak for you, but I can't. It's impossible. My feelings are actually quite unreliable. And the amount of information I have access to is completely overwhelming. How am I supposed to know how to answer those big existential questions about knowing God? I can't even remember my password. I don't know all that I need to know about physics or biology or political maneuvering or economic theory or raising children or which medicine to take or how to understand my wife or my children or my coworkers. It's just all too much. I can't be the expert of my life. Buddhism teaches that enlightenment comes when you stop asking questions. Jesus invites more questions and then answers with himself. New Age philosophies tell me that to know God, I just need to know myself. And Jesus says, you need to know him. You need to know me, he says. Postmodern skeptics claim that truth is just a power construct, a method for people to control us. The truth about reality is forever hidden from us. And Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. It's not about what we know or how we know it, but who we know. When Jesus says, I am the way, he is claiming that access to the Father doesn't come by having a certain set of beliefs or by following the rules or by religious rituals or by being a good moral person and just getting better. Instead, he says, the way is relationship with him. The way is a person. If you want to know God, Jesus says, get to know me. Not because Jesus is being rude or exclusive, but because he is the one who reveals who God is most perfectly and who makes a living relationship with God possible. The Jews of Jesus' day, of course, were familiar with this talk of the way. The prophets and the wisdom literature tell us of two ways, the way of wisdom and the way of foolishness, the way of lies and the way of death, versus God's way, the way of truth and life. For the Jews, God's way meant following the law. For the Greek philosopher Socrates, correct thinking was the way to truth. And Jesus goes beyond both of those things to say that the way to God is through relationship with him. Jesus is claiming that he is the living, breathing embodiment of the way of God. He is the way to God. Now imagine that you and I were in downtown St. John's on a cold, foggy day. We've gotten completely turned around by the hills and the one-way streets, and the colored houses all look the same. And a friendly Newfoundlander sees that we are lost and asks, what's he going to ask? Where are you? Where are you to? Well, we don't know exactly where we're going, but we have been told we are trying to get to the ugliest building in St. John's. To which he replies immediately, City Hall. He then proceeds to give us directions. Turn left, turn right, take the second exit out of the roundabout, turn by the yellow house, etc. But he can tell by the looks on our faces that directions are not going to be enough. There's perhaps just a shade of panic in our eyes. And so instead he says, just follow me. We don't need somebody to tell us more stuff about what we have to do. We need someone to go with us. Jesus says, I am the way. Come with me. I am the way to the Father's house. A couple days ago, I stopped by the Chinook Chapters bookstore, and I went to the religion aisle, and there I found several columns of bookcases filled with boxes of cards and books, all suggesting that if I just follow their instructions, I would find fulfillment and happiness. Tarot cards, messages from the fairies and the angels, past soul oracles, books with titles like Becoming Natural, Ask Your Guides, Calling in Your Divine Support System, Learning to Manifest Your Desires, The Universe Always Has a Plan, and then this one, You Are a Channel, Receive Guidance from Higher Realms, Ascended Masters, Star Families, and more. Our world is crying out for guidance, for direction, for somebody to help us to find meaning. So many of us are lost and confused and hurt, and we don't know where to turn for answers. and shysters of all kinds are willing and waiting to take our money in our desperation. And Jesus says, you don't need all that. You just need me. It's not the how or even the why that's important, it's the who. The road to God is not a technique that you have to master, it's a person you get to know. Jesus says, I am not a way to God, I am the way to God. Jesus does not show us the way to the Father, he is the way to the Father. And his way is foot washing and teaching and healing and loving and dying on a cross. And for these early disciples, Jesus says, you can't go where I'm going now because I'm going to die. But eventually, you will follow me, and your path will be not much different. You will have to be my witnesses to the world. You'll need to serve each other and learn to love each other. And you're going to face pain and suffering, and like me, you will eventually also physically die. But your room in the Father's house will be ready. The focus of this I am statement is on the way. Jesus is the way to God precisely because he is the truth of God and the life of God. Remember perhaps the beginning of John's Gospel? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. And then we see in verse 14, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. And finally, this clincher, let's back up. That's missing. No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in closest relationship with the Father, has made him known. Truth, then, for John is not an abstract concept or idea. Truth is personal, and truth is historical. God's faithful self contained in a physical, historical person named Jesus. To know the way is not first to proclaim a set of beliefs, it is to know Jesus as the faithful revelation of the Father. Jesus says, if you know me, you know the Father. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life because he has made known the truth about who God is and the kind of life that he makes possible. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you really know me, you will know my Father as well. So, do you want to know God? Jesus says, look at me. Listen to me. You don't need anyone or anything or else. He said to the Pharisees in chapter 5, even the words of Scripture are really all about me, and without them leading to me, they don't bring you life. I am your access to the Father, and everyone is welcome to come home with me. So one final question from Philip, who says, Lord, show us the Father, and that will be enough for us. It's like he didn't read the last two verses. It's kind of like what happens to us sometimes. Do you notice how the questions of the disciples show that they really aren't getting it yet? But thanks to their confusion, we are able to get it better as well. Philip is looking for a show, another sign after seeing all the things that Jesus has done. He wants more. There's maybe just a little bit of frustration that shows itself in Jesus' response. Show us the Father. Don't you know me, Philip? Even after I've been among you for such a long time? Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? Don't you believe that I am in the Father and that the Father is in me? The words I say to you, I do not speak on my own authority. Rather, it is the Father living in me who's doing his work. Jesus is claiming here that his life is so tied up with the life of his Father that it is as if you can speak of them as one. And when you see Jesus, you see God. When Jesus says, I am, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, John's Jewish readers would hear an echo of God's name in Exodus 3:14, I am. Jesus is not offering a helpful image that you can use to find God. He is, in language that John understands, identifying himself with the God of Israel, the God who keeps his promises, the God who will come to save his people. He is claiming to be the great I am. And Jesus is not just a one-time show, just here for one night. Jesus is not offering an experience. He's offering his continuing presence. And in the rest of the chapter, Jesus makes clear that his temporary absence, which we know is his impending physical death, will result not only in salvation, but it will lead to the coming of the Holy Spirit and the ongoing reality of what we call the Trinitarian presence in our life, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The way, the truth, and the life. Jesus says the answer to life's big questions about the reality and character of God is not more knowledge or more directions or more rituals. The answers don't require angels or fairies or mediums or shamans or priests or an awareness of your own inner godness or your awareness of oneness with the universe. The way to God is a person. The truth about the character and mission of God is a person. The life God offers you and I is a relationship with a person. And his name is Jesus. So, when the world or your experience of life tells you that God is distant this week, remember, the road to God is not a technique you must master or a set of beliefs that you have to say yes to. It is a person that you can and do know. Trust him and don't panic. When your heart cries out, don't leave me, I want to come too. Hear his voice. I will never leave you alone. Jesus won't give you a map to study. He will walk you home. And when doubt or competing philosophies try to set you adrift, the Christian answer is not a better argument. The answer is a person. Know Jesus, read his words, watch his loving voice and actions, and you will meet the truth and you will find life. And finally, when your heart is troubled, when like the disciples you feel lost or hurt or confused, hear Jesus say, come with me. I'll take you home. I am the way, the truth, and the life.
Thank you for listening to today's message. If you just made the decision to follow Jesus or are seeking next steps in your faith, send us an email to info@calgarycfc.com and one of our leaders will help you in your journey with Christ. God bless you.